We're streaming live.
Ellie, Richie Rich. Yeah, we got a good crew here. Yeah, we're definitely on. I'm getting responses.
Okay, good. Yeah, I see people coming in.
Saw the Rov's message to you now, Rail.
Yeah, I don't know what he's actually asking me. Oh, I'm not exactly sure what he's. Mm.
Yeah, there, it's in front of you. It says the Great Lag BaOmer Parade on the screen.
Fine. Like I wasn't even looking there.
May 26th.
Yeah, that's Sunday. Sunday, I think. Is it Sunday? Yeah, it's Sunday.
Where is it, Rail?
Um, it's a good
My eyes are
question.
not as sharp as
Does,
yours.
it doesn't say. It actually doesn't say.
I
But
think
there's a QR
uh,
code. Let's say.
it's
Okay,
off.
we're on. All right. Welcome everybody. I know there's been some of you that have been on here for a little bit longer, watching Mark and I talk, but yeah, just a big welcome to everybody to another episode of Responsible Living. We've got a really interesting uh, episode planned for you this evening. We're going to be talking about entrepreneurship in South Africa, a very relevant time given the election coming up next week. And yeah, without further ado, I'm going to introduce our guest. It's Mark Waxberger. So just a little background on Mark. He completed a Bachelor of Commerce at Wits in 2001. He's registered with the Chartered Financial Analyst, so CFA. And shortly after his working career, he actually went into entrepreneurship. And that's kind of what we're going to focus on here. So Mark, welcome. Thank you so much for joining us and for agreeing to speak this evening. Just to kind of get us kicked off, I think people will be very interested in your entrepreneurial journey and sort of where you've come from and where you're at now. So obviously you're the
Rail, go more in the middle of the screen.
CEO. Thanks, Rabbi. You're the CEO of the Capital, and yeah. So tell us a little bit about your journey, when you started and where you guys are now.
Thanks for having me, and great to be here. As you said to me earlier, when Rabbi Masinta says, please come on, you can't say no. So that's it. And we can still
Yeah.
hear he's the boss shouting in from the side thereof. My journey in entrepreneurship, I would say, started already with my family, learning from a very young age from my dad, who's an entrepreneur, learning all the ropes in drives, an hour here, an hour there, talking business. But where I put it into practice was after 4 years of corporate finance coming out of varsity, kind of M&A deal making. I then spent a year looking for an opportunity, and the opportunity came in the form of letting residential apartments in a block and subletting them nightly like a hotel. And this was pre-Airbnb. And that was the start of finding an opportunity, which then grew over many years from 2008 to 2010. The World Cup came and went. We did quite well out of renting apartments short term for a long period of the World Cup. And thereafter, we raised private equity capital and started buying distressed hotel properties with an apartment angle. And then the properties we bought happened to have conferencing in them and hotel rooms. And before you knew it, we were in that business. Fast forward to 2014, we had bought a few properties, and now it was time to develop our own properties. And so we started building. And today we are a developer, owner, and operator of 12 hotels, apartments, and conference centers across the country. We have in Johannesburg, Pretoria, we have Cape Town, we have Ballito at Zimbabwe, as well as Mbombela.
Wow, it's a cool journey. I think what's common across a lot of entrepreneur stories is that where you start is not often where you land. So I loved what you said there about, buying the properties, and then all of a sudden you had all these amenities, and now you're in that business of renting out, office space and other things. And it's my understanding that you guys kind of pioneered that apart hotel model, where you can live in an apartment, as if it's like a long-term stay, but you've got some short-term benefits. Maybe you can tell us a little bit more about what that's like. What do you actually offer to long-term, stays? And, what have you seen that actually customers like and don't like?
The model from the beginning in 2008 is the same model we have today. It worked then and it still works now. What we said was double the space at half the price, because what you would get is we looked at the market and we said hotel rooms were, in those days, 2008, just say 1,500 Rand a night. And we were able to rent a whole apartment for 10 odd thousand Rand a month. And so we said just at a 30% occupancy, we could be break even if we charged a slight discount even to a little box hotel room. We went in, I think, at 1,200 Rand a night and 30% occupancy and covering some costs to break even. And yet people were getting a whole apartment, not just a box hotel room. I mean, it literally was double the space. People were self-catering, or they were already ordering deliveries in those days. And today, that's still our business, although we've added the ability to order room service and have all the other hotel amenities today. But we get corporates for the most part who are doing business in country, and what they're looking for is accommodating their kind of more medium-term stays. Could be 7 days, could be 2 weeks, and oftentimes they're working on a project like fixing Eskom, as an example, and engineers come from all over the world to do that, because we have a brain drain in South Africa. So we have to import a lot of skills, and we have to, the corporates have to house those people. And so they like the security, the safety, the services, the brand that we've built around what we do. And so they'll accommodate them in our 1 or 2 bedroom apartments. Sometimes it's colleagues. And then we like flexibility. So that apartment can also just be a family apartment on the weekend. Or it could be an apartment where someone stays for 1 night and has a bit of a jaw, to be honest. That is oftentimes our clients these days.
Okay. Very nice. Very interesting. Yeah, so obviously the what we want to try focus around tonight is what it's like to operate as an entrepreneur in South Africa. We have a lot of political noise, we have a lot of different challenges, but we also have a lot of opportunities. So I think, at least from my experience, some of the stuff you see in the press, I haven't been down to Durban side for quite a few years now, but a lot of the stuff that you see on X and on other platforms, there's quite a lot of negativity around that area. You see, rubbish piled up around the streets. You hear a lot about political assassinations and things like that happening there. So you mentioned that you operate in different areas of the country, sort of mainly being Gauteng, Western Cape, KZN, and you said Mbombela as well, so in Nelspruit. Can you give us like a little bit of an insight into, what it's like to operate in each region? What are the benefits and cons? Give us like what you see on the ground there.
So I think the common thread that you're going to hear me speak about tonight is that in chaos, there is opportunity. And we have a chaotic South Africa, so that's the national level. And we find a lot of opportunities there. In KZN at the moment, we're finding a water crisis like you spoke about. We've got beaches that are sometimes open, sometimes closed. At the moment, they actually are reopening and things seem to have been settled down. But there's obviously a bit of a brand issue there. So what do? We've put in our own borehole systems, reverse osmosis systems. It becomes a redundant water supply as well as a blue drop standard purification system. And then we go and advertise it. And now we can stand out from the crowd of other hotels in KZN because we have the solution. And this is something that we learned even in the days before COVID, where we could foresee that load shedding was coming, and we installed generators in all of our properties already then. And when load shedding hit hard, we had chaos, and we said, okay, here's our opportunity to market the redundancy and the, call it, safety and security of being with us. So I think that that is a common thread. KZN, we run incredibly high occupancies, 80, 90%. So even though you might say, well, there's some issues there, our guests are not experiencing those issues when they stay with us. And then when you go to Cape Town, that market's highly buoyant at the moment. We've got international travel flooding in, the week rand, call it a post-COVID catch-up of travel, and it's exuberant, quite frankly. And the rates we're able to charge and the occupancy we're getting is really fantastic. But at the same time, you're getting all of the hotel groups now riding that wave. And to me, that starts becoming a little bit dangerous because it's almost not chaotic enough, if that makes sense. There's almost too much buoyancy. So it starts getting me a little bit worried. And of course, very difficult to buy or expand when times are good. So to get into Cape Town now is impossible. We got into Cape Town when it was COVID times, and we knew this was the opportunity to get into that market when times are tough. That's when you get in. Going to Bombela, it's a gateway to Mozambique. And you must remember that South Africa, we often look at it as the grass is greener on the other side. And we start thinking about places like Australia and London and Israel and America. Whereas Africans look at South Africa and say, wow, that grass is green. So we have Mozambicans flooding in to South Africa, and the border is right by Nelspruit, and we have huge demand out of that region, as well as the fact that it's what we built there in 2021 is a brand new hotel in a market that hadn't had a hotel for 10 years. Now, what we're seeing worldwide is hotels are being built and opened all the time. Marriott opens a new hotel every 18 hours. And here it is in South Africa that there basically have been no new hotels built since the World Cup, definitely not in Nelspruit. So again, you wouldn't have these opportunities if you weren't in South Africa, in Africa, for us to go and build a new hotel. And that one also does incredibly well. And then we're in Pretoria. For some reason, when you go, if you ever feel a little bit upset about your sentiment in South Africa, just pop into Pretoria, pop into Menlyn. People there just moving forward, moving on. There's just no issue when it comes to Pretoria. The sentiment's incredibly strong, often driven by the farming market, maybe. Guys get on with it. It's unbelievable. And then Sandton's probably, in the grand scheme of all that I said, probably the weakest of the bunch, and that's because there were so many hotels originally built. But there we also do really well considering the market. We do very well, and we make a plan. When there's an issue, we make a plan. That's what entrepreneurs do. And so we outmarket our competitors, and we fill our hotels in Sandton very well as well.
Nice. Yeah, there's a lot to touch on there. I think, it's, I guess in an entrepreneurial journey, it's always great, when things are going well. But I guess when things turn and you've got to now start using the court systems and the legal systems, trying to get people out, or with whatever kind of challenges you may have, challenges with the municipalities or getting overbilled, that's quite a common occurrence. So do you engage with with the legal system and in sort of what areas and what has your experience been? I suppose it would even be interesting by region as well.
So in South Africa, I believe that 9/10 of the law is possession. And that just is the market. You can trust the legal system in South Africa, by the way, I think. But maybe by the time it gets to the higher courts, there's some stories of shenanigans in the lower courts. By the time it gets to the higher courts, it can be trusted. But we know that the process is so inefficient to get to the higher courts, so expensive, it takes forever. So, my rule in the company is 9/10 of the law is possession. And let's create a situation where the contracts are drawn up such that we never have to make a claim against the counterparty. Rather, the counterparty would have to make a claim against us wherever possible and as much as possible. And so, we trust ourselves to do the right thing, but we don't always trust our counterparty to do the right thing. Let's just say funds were sitting in their bank account and we needed to make a claim on those funds, which are ours. It's nearly impossible. You've got to work through the courts if someone behaves badly. But if we could do a contractual mechanism, I'm just spitballing here, like, for example, the funds sit in an escrow account or they sit in our account and we'll pay the party net of a commission or whatever it is, then we have control. And that's the philosophy we take towards the legal system in South Africa.
It's really interesting. And can you touch on what it's like to recruit talent? You mentioned brain drain in South Africa. There's even just in my social circle, people are very, very much spread out. So can you tell us what it's like to sort of attract talent to the group and what sort of additional methods do you guys use?
So we have an incredible HR division, and again, just starting from the top, we hired the best people at the top of our HR division, and we have recruiters, and we have retention people, and we have training people, and so we built a brand around it's a great place to work at the Capital hotels. So that's first and foremost in terms of attracting talent. We get, I think the latest number is I think it was something like 1 in 900 of the CV applicants that we get that we hire. And you can imagine we're in the world of hotels, so there's a lot of food and beverage, and there's a lot of positions like waiters and the like, and we get just an absolute ton of CVs, and we have systems that sort through all of those CVs as well. And so in those positions, we don't have any problem hiring talent. We just have this mass pool to really sift through, and we sift through it efficiently, and we're able to hire some amazing, amazing people. But then as it goes higher up in terms of executives and heads, we haven't been able to hire from the hotel sector because we believe the hotel sector is broken. And the reason why it's broken is it's made up worldwide of management companies. These are companies like Marriott, Radisson, and all the brand names that we know, who are actually a label onto the building. The property is owned by someone, and they hire a Marriott as their management company. And that produces an incentive where hoteliers are really managers who manage other managers who manage other managers. And there's no one really like us who are developers, owners, and operators. And as a result of that, we need to train our own talent from quite an early stage to be our top GMs. We do hire outside and then put them in our training programs before they move up. But hiring talent and just plugging them in today at the top level very, very difficult. Also, some of the top talent just goes off to Dubai these days, to UAE, and they get paid in dollars or dirhams or pounds or whatever it is. So it is difficult at the top level.
Mm. Yeah, I mean, and Dubai being it's like a bit of a tax haven, so people take home more in the, so from an income tax perspective.
In terms of take home, the top talent that works with us take home often better, because as an entrepreneurial business, what we do is we partner with our top talent and we give them essentially a share of the hotels that they operate. And if they don't do a good job, well, then they don't earn very well, and maybe go and, trick someone in Dubai into hiring them as kind of standard hoteliers. But the ones who are entrepreneurs within our entrepreneurial business, or intrapreneurs, the ones who really take the bull by the horns and treat the hotel like it's their own hotel, and they have an incentive in terms of a share of the income statement, they do very well, and they do very well for us.
Okay, very nice. You talked about building a new hotel in a place like Mbombela. Can you talk us through what it's like getting the transfer done, getting the approvals through the councils, dealing with government agencies and bureaucracies in that area or around the country? What's your experience been like, and what is your approach to it?
So you mentioned Bombela. I don't know whether it's a bit of a fluke or not, but they were actually a great municipality to deal with. I didn't directly deal with them. We hire amazing people, again, who are professionals in terms of construction, people who know the lie of the land, and who know no brown bags, by the way, if that's what anyone's thinking. Just they know how to tick the boxes, because a lot of these bureaucratic departments are about box ticking. And if you give them a reason to be difficult, or if you treat them if you treat them badly, then they don't tick the box. But in general, that happens to be a very good municipality. We did have, as we started that construction, the construction mafia came to our site, and we had to go there. We had to go to the Lord, to the magistrate's court, to get an interdict to have them removed from site, the construction mafia. But it was also quite an efficient process, I must say, to have them removed, and on we went with our development. Yeah, I'm trying to think. We haven't had terrible experiences when it comes to dealing with council so far, I must say. Also, we just set the tone right up front, which is we're developing hotels, we're going to hire a lot of people, and we are not going to even open the door one iota for any kind of bribe, any kind of shenanigan at all. And I think it's the ones who maybe open that door that then land up having issues, and they almost set a precedent with these guys, and they keep trying. For us, it's just a zero.
Yeah, I think that's a good approach. Set the standard from day one, make sure nobody tries anything funny. No, I think that's really interesting. I've heard from other people in this industry also stories about the construction mafia. It's quite a crazy thing. It's just this well-known thing that people know happens, but nothing seems to really get done about it, and it's a similar story to yours, where they arrive, you've got to get a court interdict. It just delays things. It can add quite a significant additional cost, might stop the development indefinitely. Yeah, it just seems like not much gets done with it, but it seems like you guys took a pretty good approach, and they seem to listen there. So one of the things that we spoke about going into this talk was a little bit about how your journey with Judaism, and where you've kind of coupled Judaism with your work. Can you talk us through that a little bit, and what's your journey been like, and your experience so far?
So I married an amazing wife who it was Shomrei Shabbos, and still is, and kosher home, and that was maybe a big boost in my Jewish journey following King David High School. But I took it to a new level when in 2020, January, before COVID, I was actually studying Tanya with Rabbi Masinta. He's a hard man to say no to, as we've said. And I was studying, I would say guilt-based studying is what I would call it. And I was listening to Tanya, but none of it was really sinking in. And I came back from an executive education program where I met an amazing person who was just really in service of others and just a good and kind person. And I came back to Rabbi Masinta and said, all I want to do, I don't want to do all of this. All I want to do is be good, be kind, and be in service of others. And I have emunah, I have faith. And Rabbi Masinta said, deal, you can stop all of this, but one thing you got to do is put on tefillin. And since January 2020, every single day I've been putting on tefillin. But he's clever because he knew that that would be my entry ticket into more davening and more learning, which it has been. And of course, during that period from March 2020, we had COVID, and my faith was really put to test. And in the end, it turned out to be an amazing opportunity for us. As I said, out of chaos is opportunity. And so it's been really a proven journey for me by keeping the faith, by keeping davening, wearing tefillin every single day. And it's had an amazing result. And so I'm really inspired. And I just actually went on a trip last week to Israel, to yeshiva, which I didn't know what yeshiva was, just call it a year ago. And I went and studied there and had an amazing inspirational time. And I can tell you, in this last 4 years, my attitude to business has changed absolutely drastically. I would say in my early years, I started off being a very hard businessman, focusing on every single penny, not letting a cent get away, very, very strong on expense management, very strong. If I would negotiate to win. And I actually got a bit of a reputation of being a really hard businessman. And I guess that's what I was. Years later, fast forward 10 years later, and through this journey that I've been on, I've realized that business is not just about winning. It's about the purpose of what we're doing. It's about the people that we hire, the people that we empower, the people that we train and grow as individuals, the hotels that we build, the accommodation that provides, the GDP benefit that provides. And, with my counterparts in negotiating, I really, really moved to a true win-win. I negotiate for trust. I don't negotiate to just win. And I've become, as they say, open heart, but strong spine. And I can tell you the results out of that approach, open heart and strong spine, is far better, actually, it turns out, for business than my previous approach. And so, I've learned this actually through a combination of also executive education, which teaches purpose-driven leadership, together with my Torah journey.
Amazing. Yeah, that trip to Israel is really quite something. I did it last year. Absolutely loved it. I also had no idea what it would be like to learn in yeshiva. In fact, I had quite I would say a negative view towards it. I thought it was just kind of like a cop out of what, I don't know, what people think is the real world. And the reality is that it's actually extremely challenging. It brings a lot of interesting thought and interesting, I'd say very challenging intellectual capacity. And yeah, so it was a really, really great experience. And obviously to get the religious exposure is also great. And I don't know, it seems like my mom's actually logged into the camera's on, you got to turn it off. Everybody can see you.
Hi.
She looks like she's logged in on mine. That's how she's got on here. Okay. Anyway, that's
Very proud of your son, Mrs. Lowenthal.
Just
My
kind
mom's
of
on, and I know she's very proud of me.
I don't know what she's doing. She's still messing with it. There we go. She managed to get it off. Yeah, I think that's a really inspiring message, Mark. Yeah, I think you've brought forward some interesting takes. We've got an interesting election coming up next week, and I guess I don't want to ask you what your prediction is, but I want to ask you what your ideal outcome is. What do you see as the most positive for your business and for South Africa?
The ideal outcome. Look, I have this thing, call it as a South African entrepreneur. I call it productive paranoia. The productive paranoia means I'm always focusing on the downside. I'm always looking at the worst case scenario. The best case scenarios are unbelievable. Everyone will do well. It'll be fantastic. I'm not a pessimist, but I am always running the scenarios that are the worst case. And we know these worst case scenarios of ANC, EFF coalitions. I must say, the research that I've done in regard to it is if it did happen, it wouldn't be as bad as everyone thinks. That's some in-depth research that I did. And by the way, if it did happen, everything would be priced in instantaneously, such that if you ever wanted to panic on the back of that, I would suggest definitely not. Actually, it would be a chaos opportunity. And in chaos, there's opportunity, as I've said. The base case scenario, I guess, nothing really changes. But I think the exciting thing is that in 5 years from now, we should then see really the ANC really heading down much further. And at that point, we can have a solid, call it business-friendly coalition coming in place. I don't think that scenario is going to happen this year. So for me, it's like, let's just go through 5 more years. The trajectory is really good. The trajectory of, how things are happening with the ANC. And if you follow that and extrapolate that trajectory in 5 years' time from now, we're going to have an absolutely fantastic environment. So what do we do for the next 5 years? It's going to be more of the same. I don't think it's going to be great, but I think it should be stable and fine.
Yeah, it's very difficult because you've got to kind of try and prepare for the worst, but hopefully expect the best. But yeah, I think we're gonna end it there. I think that you brought some really interesting insights and really appreciate you coming on, and for everybody on the call, thanks for joining, and we hope you enjoyed, and we'll see you for the next one. Thanks again, Mark.
Thanks for having me.
Cheers.
Cheers, everyone. Bye.